NBA free agency is here, and the new collective bargaining agreement's fingerprints are all over it in some good ways as well as some bad. I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications as well. So let's start with the good. The good things we've seen from free agency so far. Well, from a league-wide perspective, the redistribution of talent. It's a big part of the collective bargaining agreement. They want to make sure that teams have to make some very difficult decisions. That's why you're seeing the first and especially the second tier apron, which is particularly punishing to teams that dare to spend too much money. It sits at about $189 million, and it's a big part of the reason why you've seen teams like the Denver Nuggets lose Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the Golden State Warriors lose Klay Thompson, and the Clippers lose Paul George. These guys are going to different teams because their incumbent teams are not willing to give them either the years or the dollar amount that they would have in years past. All three of those guys are staying with their incumbent teams if it was still the CBA from a year ago. The new CBA, though, it wants to create a life cycle of a team where teams that get good and thus expensive have to make some difficult decisions with their players, and ultimately some of those players wind up going elsewhere and improving other teams. You see, the NBA is banking on the wave of the future being parity. They want all teams to have a shot. They want fans to feel like their team is constantly either on the rise or building something great, or they're already at the top. They want fans to be invested all the way through the life cycle of their team. Similar to the way that we see play-in tournament have an effect where fans feel like their team is in the mix for the playoffs deeper into the season. They also want year in, year out fans to feel invested. They don't want to see anybody suffer a 17-year playoff drought. So while fans of the Clippers, the Warriors, the Denver Nuggets may not be super happy that they lost those players, from the NBA perspective, they're looking at things and they're saying it's working. It's working. Talent is getting redistributed to various teams around the NBA, and that shuffling ideally will prevent teams from spending their way to the top. However, there was some concerns that I had with the new collective bargaining agreement. Particularly, I thought they went too far to restrict trades. Some of the policies, including that teams that are above the first tier apron can't take in more salary than they send out in a trade, which effectively means every team above the first tier apron can't trade directly with each other. That's a big problem. You also have things like not being able to stack up minimum salaries, which seems like just kind of a no fun rule just to put in to be a stickler. The concern was that it might mute free agency in this time period when there's a lot of transaction to some degree. And the NBA, that's the one thing they do enjoy over a organization like the NFL. The NBA wants NFL style parity, but the NBA dominates the social media space, and part of that is the transaction game. It's the game within the game, and I think the NBA has actually gone a little bit too far. You look at the first couple of days of free agency, they weren't all that exciting. In fact, a lot of fans found it rather boring. That's not good for the NBA. This is a league that dominates the news cycle. They're constantly getting out tons of content on social media and not having these kinds of trades and transactions taking place because teams are having a more difficult time pulling off deals. I think that's not a good thing. That's where I think the NBA has actually gone a little bit too far with the new collective bargaining agreement. But everybody, let me know what you think. Your thoughts. We are now operating under a new system, the new collective bargaining agreement. I've noticed a lot of changes. I'm sure you have too. What have you noticed? And do you think this is for the better, or has the league actually made itself worse with the new CBA? Give me your thoughts in the comment section. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.